1, 2, 3. Greetings and salutations.
The universe is just doomed.
Why don't you go where fashion sits?
Hello.
Welcome back to Doom Generation.
Hi, welcome. We're here. It's spooky times.
We are back in the garage.
Yes.
So if there's a difference in sound,
do we sound rich?
it's because we are in a much bigger space than we've been over the summer.
Rich space.
It's finally, yes, it's finally tolerable out here again.
Mm-hmm. It's
so
nice.
We're getting into this isn't technically our first episode of the spooky season, but
No,
it kind of feels like it.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Because Lost Highway is not really spooky.
No,
I mean,
but
it's
it is.
spooky, but it's not
spooky as hell.
Halloween.
It's spooky as hell.
But this movie,
This one is so much fun.
1974. Before we talk about that, we got
wait.
Kim here.
That's right. Oh, wait. Who are you?
Igor.
Oh, that's right. Or Inga.
Or Inga. The Doom Biz. Follow us on Instagram at Doom Generation Pod, on Twitter at Doom Gen Pod. Join our Patreon at patreon.com/Doom Generation. All the stuff, all the links to all our things and merch and all that good stuff are in our link tree and our Instagram bio.
Do it.
So this, for real this time, is one of
Okay.
my mom's favorite movies.
Yes. We know for a fact she has confirmed this
I bought
is
the
in
DVD
fact,
for her for a gift, and she loved it. We went and saw, at her request, this in the cemetery when they did it.
Yeah.
So I know for a fact.
Yeah, and this is also my mom too. And she's like, "Oh, Young Frankenstein, that's like my favorite movie." And it's also one of my favorite movies. I
It's
love
so good.
Mel Brooks movies, but this is not only my favorite Mel Brooks movie, but my favorite movie.
Your favorite movie
Mel
of
Bro-
all time?
Of what?
Oh yeah, Mel Brooks is still alive.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
is.
he this is
Mel-
one that he
what?
didn't appear on screen in, but I guess you said he
No,
was a voiceover
He's the voiceover in when they get into the laboratory.
of Grandpa or Dad,
Yeah,
whatever, Frankenstein.
Victor Frankenstein, yeah, he's doing the voiceover for that.
So Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder co-wrote this one.
Yep.
We've got Gene Wilder as Dr. Frederick Frankenstein.
Frederick Frankenstein.
Frederick Frankenstein.
Yes.
Madeline Kahn as Elizabeth. Marty Feldman as Igor. Terry
I wrote that too on my cast list. I wrote him as Frankenstein and Igor.
Frankenstein.
Yes.
Terry Garr is Inga. Peter Boyle is the monster. Cloris Leachman is Frau Blucher.
Blucher.
And Gene Hackman is the blind man.
Yeah. I guess
to
he
throw
wanted.
him in there.
He's uncredited. They wanted him to. He wanted to try comedy. So
He did. I mean, he was. It was funny, but it was the straight
I
man,
mean,
you know.
yeah, kind of.
But it was funny.
Yeah, it was funny. All of it is funny. All of this is very funny.
Yes,
I don't give a
so
shit how many times I've seen this
It's
movie.
a laugh a minute.
It is.
More
and we're
than
gonna
that.
try to keep up with it because this is all just lines. We're
And
just
I'm sure we're gonna miss something because there's so much happening.
Yeah, we're gonna miss your favorite line. I'm sure you're gonna be screaming at us.
It's
but
in the
we're gonna
dialogue.
try.
It's in the body movements.
It's
It's
in
in
the
the looks. Yep. It's like there's so much
the
going
breaking
on.
the fourth wall. It's in Gene Wilder's mascara, which is so prominent. Like his eyes are so
Yes.
twinkly
Yes.
in this movie.
He has such big eyes. My, what big,
Big
eyes,
eyes,
you have.
big eyes.
So we get our opening credits over the spooky castle.
Oh yes, it's like that classic black and white 20th Century Fox, and I guess this is something that Mel Brooks insisted upon.
The black and whiteness
Yes,
of it all.
the black and whiteness of it all, like must be shot on black and white film because even if
And there's very few movies that I like, let alone love, in black and white.
Well,
but
you
this
know.
does not detract whatsoever
No,
from.
it makes
in fact,
it-
it makes
I would
better.
hate it
I
in
think.
color.
Yeah,
I think I would hate it in color.
yeah. It's
I
got,
don't-
it adds to the whole
Yeah,
spookiness of it.
It goes with that universal monster feel.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have it.
So we open on a rainy night and see the castle exterior.
Yes, this like painted backdrop. I live.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
And inside a clock chimes midnight.
yes.
And there's a coffin.
Yes.
of Baron von Frankenstein.
It pops open with this corpse looking out, and like someone tries to pry this box from his cold, dead hands.
And arm snap back. So that's like our first gag already.
Yeah.
Is
He's having a hard time of it. It's like,
the
and
corpse
like,
is not letting it go.
once he wrests it away from the corpse's hands, like even the hands like kind of relax, like the fingers
Yeah.
curl back in, and it like, whatever. It's great. It's great.
Amazing. And then we are into a classroom.
Right. And it's Gene Wilder, who's the professor in the school, giving a lecture about the human brain.
And you see a man standing in the class holding the box that you just saw wrestled from this corpse.
Right.
Just quietly watching.
He sits down in the back and listens to his lecture.
And so he says that one of the students calls him Dr. Frankenstein.
He was like, that's Frankenstein.
But
It's
aren't you the
pronounced.
grandson of the famous Victor Frankenstein?
Yeah. He's like, yes, we know what he did. Like,
Yes,
like
he
that
doesn't
to
want to
the-
be related to. So
No,
he pronounces it differently to separate himself from his crazy
right.
grandfather.
His cuckoo.
Cuckoo.
Yes, a famous cuckoo, like his accidental relation to a famous cuckoo.
So they bring in this volunteer.
Oh, yeah, volunteer.
Yes.
You know this because he was like, give him an extra $1. This is like a unhoused person.
Yes,
So they got off the
for
street.
sure. And they bring this poor old man in, and he tests his reflexes.
Oh, because he asked him like, well, let's get to your question. And
Oh,
that
right.
was
So his
like, I'm
question
having
was
trouble
about-
with the reflexive and
Hence why I skipped right over that part.
the science of it all. Voluntary and reflexive movement.
There you go.
So that's why they bring out the bomb. Yay!
Yes.
Yay, I scienced, y'all.
Yes. And so comes out and he's going to test the involuntary and reflexive
There you
movements.
go.
There you go.
Hey,
All right,
oh.
well, first try.
Oh.
First try. So he's explaining that reflex movements happen independently of the will, and he curses the guy out and acts like he's going to knee him in the nuts, and the man defends himself.
Right. But first he asks, he's like, hop on off of there. And like the guy takes forever to get off. He's like, nice hopping.
Yeah. so many good
I'm
things.
like, but wait though. But yeah, so he does a you filthy rotten son of a bitch. And then he flinches, and then so he's like talks about he puts that thing on his
It's
head.
like a metal clamp on his posterior nerve at
Does
the
that
base
work?
of his skull. I don't know, man.
I'm not trying it.
But he does the same thing again, and the man doesn't respond, and he knees him in the balls.
Right. And he was like, well, I'll give him an extra $1.
All communication is shut off.
Right. He would like, would it even work? He was like, he would collapse like a bunch of broccoli.
And I saw somebody asking recently on the internet, what does that mean? And so I Googled it, and
Maybe a
it's only
vegetable?
ever from this movie. It's not like a phrase that was a thing. So yeah, I guess just,
He would be a vegetable.
yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Or like soggy broccoli.
Or
like,
something. Well, like he would collapse like broccoli. Like broccoli doesn't really collapse.
I know.
though.
So I don't
It's
know.
pretty
That's why somebody
solid.
was asking about
That's
it.
why you
So,
gotta chop it. You gotta be chopping broccoli.
so he did. She chopping broccoli.
Chop broccoli.
If you guys don't know what that is, ooh.
She chop it. Ooh.
See, now we've started the broccoli ballad, and now we're not even going to talk about Young Frankenstein.
Chop broccoli.
Thank God they don't mention broccoli ever again
No,
in this film.
that's it. That's
Because
it.
it would
Moving
continue
on.
to happen.
Moving on.
So, yeah, they give him the extra $1, and he's talking about how there's no way to regenerate life once something
Right.
is dead. And the student asks about a Darwin experiment with vermicelli.
He's like, do you mean the pasta or the worm?
The worm, yes.
Ugh.
And so he's like, yeah, I read about this, but it's not the same as a human being, with very few exceptions. And so they ask about his grandfather's work and whether bringing the dead back to life has any intrigue for him.
No, I'm have a better chance reviving life. That's what I'm all about.
And the
Right.
student brings up hearts and kidneys, and he's like, those are Tinker toys.
Yes, like this is the human nervous system.
But what about your grandfather's work?
My grandfather's work was doo-doo.
And that's when he said he is not interested in death. He's only concerned with the preservation of life, and stabs himself in the leg with
He's
a
like, you'd have
scalpel.
more chance of reanimating this scalpel. Then putting back together a broken nervous system. And then, yes, he puts it into his leg. And I guess that's like a rumor that he actually did that on accident and like continued on with the scene. But that is not true.
Okay.
That is not that. You could see the little thing that he put the
Okay.
thing
Like
in.
a little packet
under
his pants.
Yeah, it's not true.
So he crosses his legs and quietly dismisses the class. And
Class
they all clap.
is dismissed.
And here comes the man with the box.
Herr Gerhard,
He has traveled 5,000 miles to bring him the will of his grandfather.
his great-grandfather,
Or great-grandfather, I think,
the
yeah.
Baron von Frankenstein.
So then he's saying goodbye to Madeline Kahn at the
Oh,
train. And
God.
this is another...
Oh,
This whole thing is just...
it's so stupid.
So she is very obviously not that into him.
No,
I'm not really sure why she wants to marry him. I guess status
No,
or something.
I
He's a
don't know.
doctor.
I have no idea.
I don't know
guess
what
it's the
she
thing
does.
to do. She's got a daddy, I guess, because that's what she talks
She does
about later, her
not
dad.
even want to kiss goodbye. So he
No.
goes to give her a kiss. Not on the
She's
lips.
not on the lips.
I'm
She's going to the party
later.
at like Nana and Nunu's or whatever.
I don't want to smear my lipstick. You understand.
Right, you understand. And
They call all aboard, and she's like, "Oh dear, Freddie, darling, you've got it, Mister."
yeah, like how could I put into words what it took me a lifetime to understand? You got it, mister.
I'm yours, all of me. What else can I say?
Right, like not the hair.
The hair has just been set.
Right, she like turns her head and he gets her hair in his mouth. He's like, does that mean you love me?
You bet your boots, my love.
You bet your
Taffeta, darling.
taffeta. Oh, taffeta.
It wrinkles so easily.
Oh, the dress is made of taffeta. It
He
wrinkles
grabs her
so
hands.
easily.
Oh, my nails.
My nails. And she's like, oh my God. And,
And
they
they
like
elbow bump. Goodbye.
foreshadowing 45 years into the future, or like 50 years into the future.
Oh my God. Like, so this is his fiance, and the most they've done is elbow rub.
I guess so, at least in this moment.
He blows her a kiss and she ducks it.
Yes. oh, my hair.
But
Oh,
then
God.
blows a kiss back.
Yes, it's genius. It's
And then
genius.
choking on the train fumes.
Yes. Yeah. And like all of that steam would have just blown her whole shit out.
Oh, yeah. Her hair would
So-
have been messed up.
Whatever. Hilarious. Hilarious. Mascara
Mm-hmm.
running down her face.
And then Frankenstein on the train.
And yeah, the couple has that conversation behind them and they like stop in New York. And then it's the same couple speaking in German and they're having the same conversation
In German.
in German. And then it's, where were they? Where did he say the stop was?
The last one was
Transylvania?
Transylvania, yeah.
Yeah.
And he opens the boy to ask, opens the
The-
boy,
opens
the
the
window
boy.
to ask the boy.
boy.
He opens the window to ask a boy if he's in the right place, and he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So he gets off the train at this foggy train station and hears the sliding sound.
Yeah.
Dr. Frankenstein? Or
It's-
Frankenstein? He probably
and
says
he's
it the
like,
right way.
It's pronounced Frankenstein.
You're
He's-
putting me on.
no.
Do you also say Froderick?
Well, no. He's like, you must be Igor. No, it's pronounced Igor.
They said Igor.
Well, they must have lied, didn't they?
My grandfather used to work for your grandfather.
But the wages have gone up, so you understand.
So he touches his hump and tells him that he is a rather brilliant surgeon. Maybe he could help with that. And
He's
he's
like,
like,
what hump?
and
I
then
love how it makes that rattling noise, like that.
what was in
rattling
there?
Noise. Like, I don't know.
They probably put something hilarious in there just because it was some inside set joke that there was like some
Well, the-
crazy thing inside that hump.
Thing where it moves back and forth from side
Uh-huh.
to side, and they finally, I guess that was a gag that Marty Feldman did until they noticed it. And
Oh,
then they
really?
kept it- he just kept moving it from side to
Nice.
side until they noticed, and once they did, they left it in.
So good.
So good.
So Igor tells him to walk this way,
It's like, no, this way.
and he literally mimics his walk with the tiny cane.
Like, you get that look, like that Gene Wilder look. He's like, with the
Okie
mascara,
dokie.
them twinkly eyes.
And he takes him to this hay cart and tosses his suitcase in on top of Inga,
Ooh!
the laboratory assistant.
Yes, they thought you might need one. And she's like, oh, do you want to have a roll
Roll
in
in
the
the
hay?
Roll
in the hay.
and
It's
she's just
fun.
literally rolling in the
Yeah,
hay.
and of course, like,
So innocent.
of course.
So they head to the castle, and Inga's scared of the lightning.
Yes, and then she's like, oh, it's a werewolf.
Werewolf?
Wolf. There. Wolf. There.
Why are you talking that way?
Castle.
I thought you wanted to.
Yeah, I thought you
No.
wanted to. He's like, well, there it is. Home.
Dun, dun, dun. So they park the cart out front, and Igor uses the giant knockers to
What?
knock on the door.
Knockers.
And he helps Inga down, and she's like, thank
Oh,
you, doctor.
thank you, doctor.
No, I mean the door knockers.
Yes, of course. I don't even think he says it. He just like, again, rolls his eyes.
Yeah.
And then,
The door opens.
and it is
Frau
Frau
Blucher.
Blucher.
And so the horse is buck and neigh, and so let's just address it now. The
Right.
rumor was that Frau Blucher
Brooks
meant...
started this
Yes,
fucking rumor.
he does
told this
this.
story. Apparently, he does this shit, and I was kind of disappointed to find out that it wasn't true that the name meant glue.
Yeah, it's not true that Blucher
But I
means
should have
glue in
known
German.
better.
It doesn't mean anything. As best
No.
as we could find, it was just supposed to be, the gag was that they're not afraid of her.
No.
They're not afraid when they see her, but there's something about hearing a
Blucher.
German name that makes the horses neigh no matter where they are. They can
It
hear
does
it.
it all every time.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter if they're on screen or they're outside or
Right.
whatever, you hear the neighing every time you hear her name in the movie. So it's just
Right.
that. It's just the simple,
They
it's
do
just
it
funny.
again, like over and over again. He like introduces Inga to Frau Blucher,
Mhm.
and,
And
again,
yeah, it
they
just
whinny.
keeps, and then even when they're inside later, yeah, it
Well,
keeps
they
happening.
they all go in, and
And then when Igor turns around and yells,
Blucher.
"Look," Kim has written on the whiteboard, Jewish
Perhaps
horses?
they're
Question
Jewish
mark.
horses.
They don't like Germans.
don't
I don't know
know.
what to tell
Maybe.
you.
That
It was
could be
back in
it.
the day, man.
It could be it.
Right?
Who could say?
But yeah, no, if that was the joke, he didn't
no,
he didn't say
that's-
so.
They didn't say. So she goes up like, "Follow me, please," and they stay in close. And she's like, "The stairs, they can be treacherous."
And she says, stay close to the candles. Those candles
Right.
are not lit, bitch.
No,
Those candles are not lit.
no.
Are those candles weapons?
I don't know. Maybe it's like they were super low candles.
I don't know. I looked real close after she said that because I noticed immediately and I was like, is it just the angle? And I watched that candelabra and those candles were not lit. So she shows him to grandfather Victor's
Uh-huh.
room.
She offers him some brandy
And there's
some
this
warm milk.
the painting that looks just like him.
Yes. He's like, "No thanks, Ovaltine."
Nothing. Thank you.
Yes, I'm a little tired. Good night.
And then she tells the painting, good night, darling, and gives it a little kiss.
He sees it in the mirror, like,
Mhm.
"Oh, intrigue."
And then he says her name, and once again,
Yeah, good night,
the horses.
Frau Blucher. So in the night, Fred, we're cool.
What's up, Fred?
Fred
Frankie?
Frankies, Fred Franks.
That's what we call him on the street. He's having a fitful
That's what
sleep.
the community calls you.
And he's just, no, I'm
Yeah.
not a Frankenstein. I'm a Frankenstein.
You can't make me say it. Okay, I'll do it. I'll say it.
Destiny.
No escaping, not for me. Destiny, no escaping, not for me.
So Inga comes in and wakes him up and
Right.
says he was having a nightmare, and they hear music.
What's that coming from?
I don't know, but it seems to be coming from behind the bookcase.
Behind the bookcase? Behind the bookcase.
Hand me that candle, will you?
Right.
And the
then
bookcase spins around.
put
The
candle back.
She does, and it spins all the way around again.
again.
So he's still in the back.
He's like, "Okay, I have an idea. Take out the candle, and I'm going to block it with my body."
And he does, and then he's slammed in between the bookcase and the wall.
Now listen to me very carefully. Do not put the candle back.
He tells her with all of her might to shove against the other side of the bookcase, and she does, and now she's behind the bookcase.
Put the candle back.
And he does, and it turns around and opens
he
so
does
they can
it
go
like
inside.
real quick.
Yeah, he does
like,
it just
takes
for like
it
a
out and
second.
puts it in, and then it goes sideways, and then they decide they find a secret passage.
And they take the other candle, not the
Yes.
one.
Oh, not that one.
And they head down this cobwebbed stairwell full of rats.
Right.
He goes to turn a door handle at the bottom, and it breaks off in his hand. So he pushes the door open, and it's the secret lab.
Oh, and we see those skulls, and 2 of the 3 are real.
Oh, really?
Uh huh.
Well, because, it's cheaper to get real ones.
It's cheaper to get the 6-month dead one is a model, and the freshly dead one,
I
got nobody.
Igor Froderick.
Yeah, Igor Froderick.
He took the dumbwaiter to the source of the music.
I just followed it down.
There must be someone down here. So there's one more
Yeah,
door.
call it a hunch.
No. But they open the door and it's dark.
Mm-hmm.
So Igor points to these switches, and the first one shoots sparks everywhere.
Damn your eyes! Too late.
The other one turns on the light.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where it all happened.
Ah, yes, and we hear the voiceover.
And so, yeah, explaining this is the lab.
Right,
and
there's what happened in like life and blah 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 blah.
And they see a light coming from behind a door.
There's a light under the door where the violin is coming from.
And they open the door, and there's a lit candle and a still warm violin.
Yeah, it's
but
still
no
warm.
one there.
Right, and a cigar that had just barely been put out.
Such strange goings on.
Then he's like, "This is it, his private library. I found it."
How I Did It by Victor Frankenstein.
It was that easy. So he reads all night, and now like that mascara is popping, and he opens up his eyes like it could work. And now the portrait is smiling.
And my note right here, which I forgot about, says, and I realize I need to know what brand of mascara this is because girl lashes for days.
Flutter, flutter, flutter.
Next morning, he's having breakfast with Inga, reading more from Grandpa's journals.
Right, he's all kipper.
Igor is making a sketch.
Yes.
Make the creature of a gigantic stature. All his organs would have to be increased in size.
He must have an enormous Schwanstücke.
Well, that goes without saying.
Right. Woof.
He's going to be very popular.
Yes. So he's like 7'7" in height with everything in proportion. He's like something like this.
And it's like the classic monster Frankenstein.
Right. This
drawing.
might be our man.
You've caught something there.
Right. And they hang the picture and it like swings like the body is at the gallows.
So yes, then we see a hooded man hanging at the gallows and then being buried in a shallow grave.
Yeah, they wait for them to bury him, and under the cover of night,
they dig up the body.
And they managed to lift that coffin out of there way easier than you
Right?
think for like a massive hulking figure.
What a filthy job.
Could be worse. Could be raining. Cue the rain.
So they cart the coffin back to the castle, but they get stuck on a rock and it falls off the cart and an arm falls out the side.
And this, of course, is the perfect time for the constable to come on over and introduce himself.
Need a hand?
Thank you. I've got one.
Yeah, and so he's got the corpse arm tucked under his armpit.
He's like picking at the fingernail.
Uh-huh.
You know.
And so
whatever.
he's just sitting there with this stiff arm talking to the constable.
Right. He introduces himself and he's like, "Oh, yes, I heard that you were in town."
And
they
he
go to
shakes the
shake
corpse's
hands.
hand.
He's like, "Oh, you're bone cold." He's like, "Get home to a warm fire and a little nip from the bottle." And, you know, whatever.
They do exactly that. They move on.
And like he goes to salute him, like Igor's down there with his arm.
Uh-huh. So then we see the body on the table. Oh, what an awesome sight.
Oh, yes.
What a profound and irreverent night is this. With such a specimen for a body, all we need now is an equally magnificent brain. You know what to do?
I think I have a pretty good idea.
And that's when he notices the hump has changed
And
size.
he's like, "Wait a minute. Was that on the other?"
Never mind.
Never mind. Yeah.
You have that name I gave you?
Yeah, he's got it written down of the brain to collect.
Hans Delbruck.
Right. So he goes to the lab and they have a
To the brain repository.
Right.
Because that's
after
a thing.
5, just drop it through the slot.
So he opens the door and scares himself with his own hand because he put it through the mail slot. And then he finds the brain, but he gets scared by lightning and his own reflection and drops the brain of Hans Delbruck.
Busts it all over the floor.
So he grabs an abnormal brain.
Do not use this brain. What were they going to use it for? Clearly
Clearly
labeled. Do
labeled.
not
Do
use
not
this brain
use.
for science.
So he brings it back and they're looking at the body again. He's hideous, he's beautiful, and he's mine.
Right. He's mine. And they have the weather for it. There's lightning and thunder.
Igor's up on the roof with the kites.
Like he goes, "Be careful. There's a chance of being electrocuted." Like he's hollering up to him. He's like, yeah. He's like, "Be careful. Like, do you hear me?" He's like, "Yeah." And he's like right behind
Right
him.
next to
He's
him.
like, "Wait,
how did you get there?
Did you tie off the kites? He's like,
Why
yes,
are you
of course.
shouting?
Yeah, why are you shouting?
So they release the safety valve on the main wheel. This is the moment. Well, dear, are you ready?
Right. He gets all dramatic.
Elevate me.
Right here?
Yes.
Like, yes, elevate
Raise
the
the
platform.
platform. Oh, the platform.
The
Yes.
platform. Yes.
They raise him up with the body.
He gets dramatic and he has this monologue prepared.
From that fateful day when stinking bits of slime first crawled up from the sea and shouted to the cold stars, I am man. Our greatest dread has always been the knowledge of our own mortality. But tonight we shall, I wrote blah, blah, blah into the face of death
I was like,
itself.
oh, good. You wrote it all down because I didn't.
Tonight we shall ascend to the heavens, mock the earthquake, command the blah, 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 and penetrate into the very womb, I couldn't keep up, of
You're
impervious
good.
nature herself. So he goes up to the outside and tells him, throw the switch when he gives the word.
Right. So throw the first switch. Throw the second switch. And then throw the third switch.
Not the third switch.
Yes, the third switch.
And it sparks and bubbles and glass shatters.
Life! Do you hear me? Give my creation life.
And the creature glows but does not wake.
Nope, they got the winds though.
What? So they turn everything off. He says, bring me down. The
Right.
body's like smoking but has no heartbeat.
He is defeated.
Banging on its chest, nothing.
Right. He's like, no. Be of good cheer. Science teaches us, if anything, to accept our failures as well as our defeats with dignity and grace.
And they start
You
strangling the
son
body.
of a bitch bastard! Why did you do this to me?
He's banging on his
banging
chest.
on his
I
chest
do not
again.
want to live.
I don't want to live. I do not want to live. And they're like taking him. They have to pull him off. Mama.
So then we're at a town meeting, and they don't want Frankenstein there. They're like, no,
They're like,
all
they're
these
all the
scientists
same.
are the same.
Oops, you think they're working for you, but they're only
just
want
trying to rule the world.
rule the world.
So the one man most qualified to judge fairly, they say, is Inspector Kemp.
Yeah, and he comes over there with his ratchet arm.
Lights his cigar off his mechanical hand.
With the monocle over the eye patch.
Uh-huh.
I love.
Before we go around killing people, we had better make damn sure of our evidence.
The riot is an ugly thing. And once it started, she cannot be stopped.
And we had better confirm the fact that young Frankenstein, he said the name,
No, he said it.
is following in his father's footsteps.
So we need to go down for a quiet chat.
Yes.
Or up, I guess. It's up on the hill in that clearly haunted and suspicious castle.
And the doctor is at home lamenting his reputation.
Right. They're having dinner and Inga's like, you got to stop thinking about it. You haven't touched your food. And he's like, there.
Yeah, he pats his food with his hands. I've touched it.
There.
Happy?
I've touched it.
Igor's like, oh, the
What a
things
brat.
my father used to say to me.
Yeah, when things like this would happen to him, I remember the things he would say to me.
What did he say?
What are you doing in the bathroom day and night? Get out of there and give someone else a chance. And that was it.
That's it. And so Frankenstein says, maybe it's better this way, the poor lifeless Hulk. Maybe it is better off dead.
Yeah, but in the
Bef-
lab.
But before we find out what's happening in the lab, it's the perfect time to take a quick break.
Oh, perfect.
We'll be right back.
Down this road is a small city once thriving and full of life, but now desolate and abandoned. Well, abandoned save for the horrors rumored to reside within, which I presume is why you're here. Now, there's nothing wrong with a little morbid curiosity, but please, remember to stay close to your guides. We wouldn't want anyone to get left behind now.
Hello and welcome to Nopeville, the city filled with all the terrifying and horrible things that make you say nope.
Nope.
We're your tour guides. I'm Jen.
And I'm Christine, and we invite you to join our tours through the city, including all things paranormal, true crime, and supernatural.
From haunted places to possessions,
From serial killers to cults.
from zombies to cryptids.
You can find out more on our website at nopevillepodcast.com.
And catch a tour today wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, one thing not know about Doom Generation Podcast is we are some cheapskates.
Dude, we do not like to spend the coin at all.
So when we were about to do this podcast, we did some major searching into what is the cheapest way
We did more research into how to do this than
that
we
we
do
do for
into
the
our
podcast. And let me tell you what, this Anchor is like the only free platform that distributes your podcast for you to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a whole bunch of other places.
You can do all kinds of stuff when you're doing it too. You can record your sound effects, you can manage your episodes, and you can track your little analytics.
Yep, you can see where everybody's listening from, how often they're listening.
From your phone, from
Yep.
your computer.
You
Like
can
we
record from
probably
your
still
phone.
would not have had any episodes out.
If it were not
If
for
it
Anchor,
were not for if it
this
were not for
podcast
Anchor,
would
we
not be in your
we
ear
would
holes
still-
right now.
No, it would not. We would still be just recording it for ourselves.
Yep, listening back to ourselves in the
Laughing at our
garage.
own jokes.
So if you would like to have a podcast, but you don't know if you want to spend any money, you need to go get this Anchor app or go to anchor.fm and get started now.
And we now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.
And we are back.
We have returned.
And we are in the lab.
Yes, we see the fingers a twitching.
And he starts to moan. Back at the table, they hear the moan, but he thinks it's Igor just loving the dessert.
Because he was like, actually, I'm not a dessert person, but this is really good.
And then he hears it and he's like,
But you made a yummy sound.
I didn't make a yummy sound.
Yes, you made a yummy sound. And he was like, well, if it wasn't you, and it wasn't you. Oh, it's the creature. It's alive.
Alive!
Stand back.
And then he leans in. I'm going to set you free. Is the sedative ready?
Yes, doctor.
He unstraps him. I want you to sit up,
And he does.
stand on your feet,
And he does.
and you can do it.
You can do it.
Now walk.
He does. He takes a few steps, and Inga's frightened.
And Igor or Igor, I can't keep it straight in my brain. Lights a match.
Whatever. And he
the
freaks
creature
out.
freaks out.
And chokes Frederick. And he's like, they play like a full-on game of charades. He's like, sounds like bed, said a give.
Sedative. So yeah, so they finally get it, and she gives him the shot.
Oh, duh.
Yeah, like that was what
Silly.
you had to have ready.
Yes, of course.
And that's when he's like, sedative.
Yeah, said a give. He's like, can I talk to you?
Would you excuse me for one moment, dear?
Right. Like, she goes away, and like, he goes, can I talk to you for a moment? And he's like, no, up here. Like, come sit down on the chair.
Now that brain you gave me.
Was it Hans
Hans's
Delbruck? No, or like you're gonna be angry. Like I will not be angry. It's like, well, it was Abby someone.
Yeah, would you mind telling me whose brain I did put in?
Right, it's Abby someone.
Abby who?
Abby Normal.
I'm almost sure that was the name.
Abby Normal.
Are you saying that I put an abnormal brain into a 7.5 foot long, 54-inch wide gorilla?
He jokes Igor, and they like launch into
Is that what
another
you're telling
game
me?
of charades. But luckily, there's a knock at the door.
And it is the mechanical hand of the
It
constable.
is the ratchet arm of Kemp.
Inga goes down to see what it is and tells Igor to put that thing on the operating table and strap him down tightly. Well, the doctor tells him.
Right, of course.
He's going to go wash up so he looks normal.
Yeah, we
We've
all have
gotta
to look normal.
So downstairs,
Yeah.
monsters.
Yeah.
And they're playing bullseye or playing bullseye,
Playing
darts.
Wow.
Wow. This is the 20th century, Kemp. Ghosts are passé like goblins.
Right. I know. I can't believe that you've bought into this.
He says it's a very real thing and stabs his darts into his arm
he
to hold
puts
them.
it in his arm, and then he's cheating.
Totally.
At darts, he does little.
He just makes the sounds.
Nice grouping.
Kemp keeps fucking up the doctor's dart throwing by
Right.
just making sounds and doing shit like while he's trying to
He's
throw.
a cheat. And then he says, like, are you sure? I can assure the townspeople that you have no interest in continuing your grandfather's work. Can I count that as a yes?
Sure.
Good night. Come by anytime. We're always open.
And his arm gets stuck.
Right.
He walks off.
He leaves, and then like all the tires are flat on the
And the
car
cop has a
because the
dart stuck
darts
in his
in the-
hat.
Yes.
And back in the lab, Frau Blucher comes in the secret entrance to find the creature on the slab.
Right. Secret
We-
creature.
we-
Secret creature.
Victor,
We've done it.
We've done it.
I'm going to set him free.
Would you like that?
Yes.
They wanted
I'm going
to hurt
help
you.
you.
Yes. So they come in just as she's releasing him. Frau Blucher.
You mustn't.
He will kill you.
No, he's as gentle as a lamb. He's got a rotten brain.
Rotten, I tell you, rotten.
And that upsets the creature.
Ixnay on the Ottenray.
Right. She's like, no, I know what to do.
And the monster's getting pissed. So
Right.
Blucher picks up her violin and plays.
That was you? That music? Yes, it is in your blood, all Frankensteins. It was you all the time. Yes, that was your cigar. Yes.
Yes, say it, say it. He was my boyfriend. And the creature backs into some coils and gets spooked and runs out.
And he escapes. Now you'll never catch him. He's free.
Like, what is he, the fucking gingerbread man?
Right.
Was that the plan? You were
You're
going to
never gonna
make
catch
life and then
me.
release him into the fucking wild?
Right? I don't know. And like they don't even follow him. Like they're like, oh wait, it's raining.
Right?
I'm in my pajama
I'm
jams.
gonna get wet.
It's a pajama jammy jam. I can't go out in the rain.
We've got to find him, you understand? We've got to find him before he kills someone.
He wasn't going that fast. You could just go. I mean, like get the sedative and then like off you pop.
One of you guys has to be able to run that fast. Come on. You got horses.
You can run that fast. You got horses. We know.
We know.
Because
We
they
can
keep
hear them.
saying "Blucher."
So you see a little girl singing, dropping flower petals into
Mm-hmm.
a well, and the creature comes up behind her.
Bum.
And a man is boarding up windows because the monster is loose.
Right. And like, how did they hear about this?
I guess word travels fast
I
in this
guess
small
so.
village.
In a
Because that was
village.
the night before in a rainstorm, and this is presumably the next morning because
I'm
it's
guessing.
daytime.
I mean, that the moon times and the sun times and the storm
It's hard
times.
to tell in
hard to
black and
send
white
a-
times. You guys know that the world was black and white in 1974.
That's what
right?
it looked like before everything switched to color.
So he's like telling his wife, "Oh, thank goodness you put Helga to bed with all this monster business."
She's like, I didn't put Helga to bed. I was making the whatever the fuck she says.
You're supposed to put Helga to bed.
And they can't find her, and they're looking around, and they're like,
She's out there teaching the monster to blow bye-bye kisses to the flowers.
right. And then they go to get on she wants to get on the seesaw.
Seesaw.
And he sits on the seesaw and sends her sailing.
Launches her into her bedroom
through-
window.
Right. And the parents are like, oh, we'll go check. I thought you checked.
So they
Negligent.
check right after she lands safely in her bed.
Or is she unconscious? She looks like she's
I don't know,
asleep.
maybe.
They're like, oh.
So then it's nighttime in the
Moon
interior
times.
of a modest home.
Mm-hmm.
And Gene Hackman is
Yes.
holding a rosary and kneeling by his bed.
And all he wants is a visitor.
A temporary companion to help him pass a few short hours in his lonely life.
And of course, the creature storms right in. Oh, thank you, Lord. My joy and my prize from heaven.
Don't speak, don't say a word.
Mm-hmm.
You must have been the tallest one in your class.
Right.
My name is Harold. What is your name? Nope, didn't get that. Forgive me, I didn't realize you were a mute. Me a blind man and you a mute. An incredibly big mute.
Yeah, an incredibly big. He's like, would you like some soup?
So he tells him to hold out his bowl. And why did the blind man think that he was going to, like, put your
Thumb in there like
yes,
they do.
hold on to the soup bowl yourself or something.
I don't know. He pours it right into his lap. Of course he does.
Now a little wine with your soup, huh? And this he does successfully. He puts
Right.
his finger in the mug and finds it.
Right. He manages to do that fine.
But then
and
a toast.
Oh, and then he smashes the mug.
Oh my! And he didn't hear that.
Nope.
The monster rolls his eyes. He's got a surprise, some cigars he's been saving.
For a special occasion.
So he tries to light it with the candle and he gets scared. No, fire is our friend. I will
Fire's
show you.
good. I'll show you.
So he tries to help the monster light his cigar, but he lights his thumb on
He
fire.
holds his thumb out instead and lights that and then
Freaks out and runs into the night.
Right. He's
Wait,
like, I was going to make espresso.
which you said that was ad-libbed?
Yeah, I guess he ad-libbed it and they had to cut because everybody started laughing because that was funny. It was funny.
The monster is shambling through the streets when he hears violin music.
Oh, and he it's Fred. I keep wrote because I did it for brevity.
Fred.
So I have Fred written and I just had Fred written because of Lost Highway that we just
Oh,
did.
yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So Frodrick in disguise with his twinkly eyes in the night,
is playing the violin.
Mm-hmm.
The monster is drawn in, and they drop a net on his head,
And Inga sedates him.
and he's out.
I know.
So back in the lab, the doc is going in. He wants a candle.
Right. He's like, I'm going in there no matter what I say, no matter how cruelly I beg of you.
Or how terribly I may scream.
Do not open this door.
Or you will undo everything I've worked for. Do you understand?
Yep, we got it.
Nice working with you.
Yeah. So he goes in and Blucher locks the door. And of course, he immediately begs to get
Yes,
let
as
out.
soon as
I
he
was
wakes him up.
joking.
Open this goddamn
And
door.
she
I'll
will-
kick your rotten heads in.
She will
Mommy!
not let him out. Yeah, Mommy! 9! The creature confronts
He
him.
breaks the chains.
Yeah. Hello, handsome.
You're a good-looking fellow. Do you know that?
You know what? They hate you. They laugh at you because they're jealous.
Look at that boyish face. Look at that sweet smile.
Yes.
You want to talk about physical strength, about sheer muscle? The Olympian ideal? You're a god. Listen to me. You are not evil. You are good.
This is a good boy. This is Mother's angel.
So he's relieved.
I want the world to love him.
He snuggles him.
We're going to make the single greatest contribution to science.
And Dr. Frankenstein, are you all right? Dr. Frankenstein, are you all right?
My name is Frankenstein.
To the Bucharest Academy of Science.
Yep, they
Tonight
have a
only.
showing. It's sold
Dr.
out.
F. Frankenstein presents the creature in a startling new experiment in reanimation presented in cooperation with TNS, Transylvania Neurological Society. I don't know why I wrote all that down, but I did.
I'm so glad that you did, because what follows is one of the single greatest comedic bits of all time.
So the constable and his posse enter from the back to keep an eye on things as the show begins, and they introduce the doctor. No one claps.
Nope.
They hiss at him as he's speaking.
Oh, yes, I was once like you, grounded in science, but then he got into the reanimation of dead tissue, and they all laugh.
They scoff.
And then he brings out the creature.
He shambles out in a
That's
hospital
exactly
gown.
what I fucking wrote, because he's shambling.
And everyone screams.
And they start to run. No, no, no.
Be seated.
Stay in your seats.
I beg you. There's nothing to fear. So he demonstrates his balance coordination, has him walk heel to toe.
Right. And he
backwards.
gets a little treat.
And they clap. Yeah, he pops something in his mouth. For what you are about to see next, we must enter quietly into the realm of genius. A cultured, sophisticated man about town. Hit it. And here they're both in tuxedo and top hats.
Fashion fits.
Put on rest! And then I love the super duper.
Just up like Gary Cooper.
Super duper. And they tap dance. Igor does the piano. Inga's in the wings.
Yes.
The audience is loving it.
The creature's doing windmills.
Yep. And then a light bursts and he panics.
Ah!
The doctor tries to move on, but the crowd starts
He
throwing
does
vegetables.
a little shuffle. He tries to throw a little razzle dazzle.
Yeah. And like
Nope.
they brought vegetables to a science thing?
You do that. You used to do that back in those
Even
days.
a science thing?
Yes.
I guess. Please, I beg of you, for safety's sake, don't humiliate him.
Yes.
So the monster knocks him out,
He
jumps
pushes
into the
him
crowd.
down.
The police drag him off
They chain him up.
by the throat.
Right.
The doctor and Inga chained
Oh.
like a beast in a cage.
If I could only fix the imbalance of his cerebral fluid.
But how? How before it's too late?
And Inga's kissing on him and
Giving
like
him little kisses to relieve
there was
the
only
tension.
way to relieve the tension. And he
Give
looks
you a little piece.
he has that little twinkle
Uh-huh.
in his eye.
And then Frau Blucher's coming in and doesn't see them. And hears
Mm-hmm.
the voice high up above.
Yes.
And then here comes the lab table down from the roof, and they're naked and smoking on the lab table.
Post-coital bliss.
But he got a cable while he was out.
I told you never to interrupt me when I'm working.
But your fiance will be arriving any second.
Uh-oh.
What? Elizabeth here tonight?
Yeah, I suggest you put on the tie.
Yeah, more than a tie, maybe.
Mm-hmm. You can hang it from your dome.
Right? Elizabeth arrives, and Inga's out waiting on the porch in this super spangly dress.
Oh, my
This is to
gosh.
greet the fiance
I
of your
know.
boss.
The fiance that comes out all turbid and furred.
Darling, surprise, love me.
Yes, this is my financier.
Yes.
Fiance.
Yes. And
he asked him to help. He asked Igor for help with the bags. He was like, all right, you take the blonde, I'll take the one in the turban. Woof!
Yes, Igor's got a thing for her already.
Right. He's like, this is this where he takes the bite out of her mink stole. He's got it in
Maybe,
his eyes like,
he like
"Arr!"
growls like a dog at her as she walks by. Yeah. So they go in. The monster's still locked up in jail. The cops are telling him, settle down. We're going to be pals. Nice and cozy, just like old friends. But then they light a match in front of him.
Oh, you don't like that, do you?
Hold it up to his face.
Oh, you shouldn't do that shit.
Ooh. He chokes him and lifts him up off the floor.
Yup.
Rips them chains right off.
Break them chains.
There's an angry mob outside the jail with torches.
Of course. And he will curse the day he was born a Frankenstein.
A riot is an ugly thing, but I think it is just about time that we had one.
What?
I know no one can understand the constable's accent. So they go to the castle. Frederick is kneeling at Elizabeth's feet, telling her about the monster breaking loose.
Right. And she's like, are you going to be just down the hall in case I get the frights in the night? Like, ugh.
Well, I thought under the circumstances I could stay with you.
Oh, so close to the wedding.
Yes.
Yes. And she's like, no. But, she's a virgin. He's not.
That's a tough choice.
Right.
You're a tough guy.
Oh.
So he goes to kiss her. No
tongues.
tongues. Good
And
night,
I guess
darling.
that was she improvised that too, I guess.
Good night, sweetheart. I love you.
Yes.
Yeah, he's over it.
He grumbles all the way out, and then we see Elizabeth at the thing singing the battle hymn of the Republic.
Yeah, so the monster's out shambling, and he hears Elizabeth singing.
Right, so he breaks in.
He comes to her window, and he takes her.
Bow, come inside. Take Elizabeth away.
They go into the woods. So the mob's looking for them, but he's got her. He's on the woods, and she wakes up with her Bride of Frankenstein stripe in her
she
hair.
was so scared. I want them.
So it's beautiful.
I'm gonna do it.
And asks what he is and what he wants to do with her.
Right. So you better have me back by 11:30. I'm waiting for a very important phone call.
Speak. Why don't you speak?
Right. Then he goes to get undressed, and she's like,
he reveals his
God.
penis, and she's like,
Woof.
woof.
Like,
I'm engaged, but
sweet mystery of life, at last I found you.
And he's grunting on top of her.
Oh my goodness.
The mob is still searching, and then there's like a heart screen wipe.
Right. They're having a smoke.
They're having their post-coital smoke in the woods.
Penny for your thoughts.
You're incorrigible, aren't
Little
you?
zipper neck.
All right. 7 always has been my
Oh,
lucky
my
number.
goodness.
7. Wow.
My goodness. Well, he's a monster.
Come over here, you hot monster.
Oh.
So he gets up and wanders off. You men are all alike. 7 or 8 quick ones, and you're off to tell the boys.
You better keep your mouth shut. Oh my God. I think I'm in love with him.
So then there's a violin being piped through a megaphone from the castle roof by the doctor.
He's playing it for the music, and then he shambles through the streets and climbs the wall.
He faints at the top.
Right? Like, no, let him. He wants to do it.
And so have all the preparations been made for the transference?
It's the only way.
Are you sure you want to go through with this? You realize you're risking both your lives.
Yes.
So they're both on the slab.
Yes.
Their brains are connected with helmets and wires. And Igor is running the controls.
Right. And he said, the doctor said to allow for 15 minutes to rest. Not a minute before, not a minute longer.
But the mob is assembling outside,
Uh-oh.
using the constable as a battering ram to get into the castle.
That arm is useful.
And so they just need 2 more minutes. They're almost in. Oh no.
Oh,
it's
no.
7 seconds too soon. They have to stop the process.
And he says,
The
don't.
creature.
Right. When he says,
Put that man down.
Yes, put that man down.
And for as long as he says he's the monster, for as long as he can remember people have hated him, look at his face and body and run away in horror. Bluchert's crying. And he lives because this poor half-crazed genius has given him life. He alone held an image of me as something beautiful. He used his own body as a guinea pig to give me a calmer brain and somewhat more sophisticated way of expressing myself.
So Kemp goes to shake his hand, and the townsfolk clap, and they leave. And
For sponge cake and wine.
Right, and he pulls his arm off, and he's like, oh, well, to the lumberyard.
And they depart.
Yes.
So sometime later, we see Dr. Frankenstein carrying Inga over the threshold
They've
as
gotten
Mrs.
married.
Frankenstein.
And so the name is beautiful.
The doctor gets undressed and she's like, hold on to the hat.
Right.
And hears singing and goes a little loopy.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden he gets Elizabeth's in her room singing calling for honey.
Yes, don't be mad at Daddy. You know how he is, and he likes to throw the parties, and he's sitting there reading his magazine.
The creature is in bed with the paper and his leopard jammies and bifocals.
Right. And then she comes out with her hair done up like, "Arr."
The hamper is for shirts.
Yes.
And the other one is for socks and poo-poo undies.
Yeah.
So back in the doctor's room, he's now moaning like the monster and coming for Inga in bed.
She's like, the feeling is mucho.
She asked if the monster got part of his brain. What did he get from the monster? And he looks into the camera.
Zooms in on his
No,
twinkly
I don't
eyes.
believe it.
Oh, no. Sweet mystery of life. At last I found you.
So yes, we end on an orgasm.
I guess so.
Is what it sounds like.
So did he get a big dong?
He got a
or
big
did
dong.
He just
I guess that's what
blowing
the
that back
implication
out.
there, or just skills.
back shots?
He got them skills to pay the bills.
Hitting them walls. back, forth and forth.
So this is a lot shorter on time than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
And so what else do we got to say about Young Frankenstein?
Oh, that we did find out that it was true that Aerosmith's Walk This Way, the title was inspired
Yes.
from this movie.
So the song has absolutely nothing to do
No.
with the movie, but the title is from that part where
Yes.
he tells them to walk this
They
way.
went to see it. They thought it was funny. And so they made the title and then wrote the lyrics.
Yep.
So there's that. I watch this every spooky times.
I watch it, yeah. I've seen it a ton of times. Like I mentioned before, we went and saw it. I took my kids and my mom and I went to see it in the cemetery, not the Hollywood one, but the local one.
Yeah.
And that was fun. It wasn't like a shadow cast or dressing up
No.
or anything really, but it was just cool to
We
go
went
see.
there for Rocky Horror, didn't
Yes.
we? Yeah. Doing the time warp on people's graves.
Yep, we sure did. We sat on people's graves and watched movies because
Yeah.
that's just something you do in
That's
California.
the thing that you do. It's fun. I think they do that other places.
sure
I
they
don't
do.
think that's a strictly California
sure.
thing to do. The disrespect of the dead is clearly a California
Right?
thing.
We're all out there, dudes.
Well, I
Dude,
thanked the
move
lady.
over.
I used her name and thanked her for letting me dance on her grave. I mean, what was she gonna do?
reach up and grab you by your butt.
Far beyond being offended by my Frankenstein,
Oh, she got her Frankenstein.
my clip clops.
Tessa has
They're
Crocs
so cool.
that are platform
Mhm.
leopard print.
They're
you guys.
fashion.
It's called
Nicole,
fashion, Brenda.
Look it up.
Look it up.
Look it up.
So yeah, next week we've got.
Oh, I know what we got.
Is it already?
Is it your
Is
birthday
it my
episode
birthday one?
next
Oh yeah, you
episode?
guys, it's our birthdays this month. We
Yeah.
haven't mentioned that.
I don't know why we ain't talked about
We
that
both
shit.
got
October
birthdays.
is the month of our auspicious births.
You should tell us happy birthday by joining our Patreon for the low price of $2 to
Ooh.
$4 a month.
Good one.
And
Good
we'll
one.
send you gifts for our birthday.
There you go. See how that works? And you can send us gifts.
You
At,
can.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I'm not giving out my address,
No.
but if you
There's
want
no
to hit
place
me
to
up in
send
the
them.
DMs. Yeah, no, I
Slide
don't
into
have a
those
PO
DMs
box.
if
We
you
need to
want to
get a PO
send us
box.
cool things.
Right.
I accept.
So yeah, no new patrons this week, no yearbook signings. So get on them, Apple reviews, or send us some emails. Do it. We'll read those out on the show. Leave us a voicemail. I keep forgetting to say 702-720-DOOM. We will play those on the show.
Leo, leave us another
Come
one.
on, Leo. You already had two.
Come on.
If you guys want to do voices, like if you like how we had Jack, I presume that was not Jack Nicholson. who
Oh,
called
you
us.
didn't think it was? Because I totally thought
But
it was
if somebody
Jack Nicholson.
wants to call and just, if you're good at impressions and you want to leave us,
do it.
you know, the stuff like that.
Show
if
us
you
your stuff. If you want to leave us an
if you
obscene
have your
phone call,
own, there you go. You want to leave us an obscene phone call? Go ahead.
we
If you're
like
another
it.
podcast and you want to give yourself a shout out, but you got
Do
to also
it.
say something about us. But you can shout yourself out. Keep it short. Don't be talking forever.
I mean, you know, like
30 seconds or less. We'll put it on there.
Good.
Just say, hi, this is so-and-so from such and such podcast. I just want to say, and then there you go. Give yourself a shout out and give us
And then give us
a
compliments.
hey howdy at the same time. And I guess on that note,
We'll talk at you next time already.
I guess so.
So.
All right.
Well, later, Doomers.
Later, Doomer.